Hi, my name is Charles Malki, biologist and plant expert with Ivory Organics, where we grow cool plants. And today we're going to be talking about planting seeds. Here we are in June discussing planting seeds, which is almost unheard of. I'm going to share with you a plant seeding chart in just a moment where most seeds are planted in spring, early spring, even mid-spring for harvests that are then enjoyed by summer. But there's also another important planting period of the year, and that is in the fall. Regardless of where you live across the country, there are seeds you can put in the ground come fall to enjoy those benefits by spring, or even later fall and even going into early winter. So we're going to discuss the value and the importance of this second primary or secondary seed planting season that is going to be starting now. In this lesson, I'm also going to introduce you to my friend at SHES Rooted Home Seed Exchange, and I'm going to be putting those links down below here in the description as well as in the comments below, where you can now enter to gain up to $50 of seeds and other gardening giveaways as Ivory Organics. And I'll quickly share with you with the SHES Rooted Home Seed Exchange, which starts today, June 8th of 2020, and through June 15th. So it's a very narrow window to enter, and the goal is to enter during this narrow window, and SHES Rooted Home will then pair you up with other people within your similar growing zone, where you'll have an opportunity to make a friend that will be giving you kind of like the silent elephant gift exchange, where someone's going to give you something and then that person is going to give something to someone else, and everyone's going to receive a gift from someone within this group. And it's an opportunity to make a couple more new gardening friends, and possibly for life. And I'm excited to participate in this as well, and looking forward to see what new friends I make out of it as well. With our giveaway through SHES Rooted Home Seed Exchange for this fall of 2020 giveaway, Ivory Organics is giving away this trio gift set, which includes the Ivory Organics all-purpose fertilizer super blend, which has one of the highest NPK organic fertilizers you'll find on the market. It also includes all of the 6 macronutrients that plants need, and you can see that also includes, in addition to nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, it also includes calcium, magnesium, and sulfur, and it talks about how the product can be used for your potted plants, in-ground plantings, and so forth. It also is going to come with the Ivory Organics ready-to-use spray bottle. Also going to include a can of this Armory listed for organic use, protection against damaging sunburn insects and rodents. Important for the summer. Also important for summer is to feed your plants, as now we're approaching maximum sunlight hours and you need to feed your plants. We're approaching now 14 hours of daylight here in Southern California. Your plants are fruiting, your plants are flowering, your plants are doing whatever it is they are. Their metabolic processes are at a maximum, and hence it's important to make sure all that nutrition is in the soil to support optimal plant health. And I'm also going to be including our newly published book, Saving the World with the Home Garden, Improve Our Planet's Health with Natural Gardening Lessons. And in this book, you're going to learn the value of native plants, improving the importance of pests in the organic garden, fertilizing nutrition and application time, how to create free new plants, Ivory Organic brand products, and nearly the 300 Ivory Organic YouTube lessons that you've seen over the years are pretty much summarized in this easy to read 79-page book that is also going to be included. And then obviously this is all in addition to the seeds that we're also going to be making available. And one of those that I'm going to be including are these California poppies. I just went to my front yard, and I'm going to tour you there in just a minute. Some of you may have seen that back in December we seeded our front yard, as I've always taught, and it's actually chapter 1 in this book, is the value of native plants in your landscape. And I've always taught for several years now the importance of dedicating at least 5 to 10% of your property to native plants, as those plants have been here for millions of years before we came with our homes and leveled the properties and landscaped it with plants from all around the world. In fact, almost 99 to 100% of the plants that you'll find at your local nursery are not native. They're not from your grow zone. So it's important to find out where you live and to plant those seeds that are in alignment with the habitat that surrounds your home and surrounding community. And what you're creating is what I call islands of hope. And it basically allows those native butterflies and those native birds and those native hummingbirds to come and visit your property, to those flowers and those plants that they relied on for food, for shelter, and so forth. And so again, you're creating islands of habitat, and if enough homes in your community do this, then you're basically helping to support that ecosystem that existed long before us. And so the importance of planting native plants, and one of those among dozens of native plants that we've got in the front yard are these California poppies. And if we take a look here, and I'm going to open this up, I'm storing the seeds in a paper envelope that allows the seeds to dry. This here is a seed pod, and I just want you to see how fine, I'll actually do this here on the front, so you can see how fine these seeds. I'm going to allow some of these seeds to escape, but when I pop it, you can see how small these seeds are. If you take a look at some of the research that I pulled up here, you can see that according to this source, which is called Home Guides sfgate.com, California poppy germination, and it says to plant it whether it's going indoor or outdoor, and that is a very shallow measurement, practically impossible to create if you're going to be doing some type of seed cover. Like, it's just too thin. And to accomplish this, what I'm going to recommend, and we're going to be demonstrating shortly, is using a product known as perlite, and we're going to be doing that together in just a moment. And another tip I want to share with you when it comes to your native plants is to consider a process known as cold stratification. And this is a process where you simply take your seeds and you store them in your refrigerator. Whoever's going to be receiving seeds from me, I'm already going to start this process for you starting today, so that by the time the giveaway goes out in a few weeks, your seeds will already have been cold stratified. And this is a process of tricking the seeds into thinking they've already gone through winter, so that when you actually sow the seeds, they germinate quickly. As soon as they hit the ground and there's some warm temperature out, even though we're now going into the fall and temperatures are cooling, the seeds are going to feel like it's spring, and they're going to germinate, set root, and get established going into winter. And that's just going to give you a head start on your plants going into spring. You're going to start enjoying these California beautiful flowers in your landscape. And I'm hoping She's Rooted Home partners me up with someone in California, so that these California native plants remain in California, even though you can grow California native plants in other states around the country. But the value is not the same as planting California native plants in California, where you're benefiting that wildlife that existed again for millions of years before we came and disrupted their ecosystem. So the goal with your native plants is, depending on where you live in the country, is try to find out what's native to your area and plant those, because that's how you achieve optimal benefit to the ecosystem surrounding your home and ultimately your community. In addition to the value of also supporting your ecosystem and the natural wildlife that surrounds your home, is you're also going to be attracting those pollinators, those bees and the butterflies and the birds that will also benefit your other plants that you've got in your garden, whether they be tomatoes or peppers or squash or bananas or citrus or whatever else it is that you're growing. You're going to be attracting more pollinators that are ultimately going to result in more food and more fruit to your garden as well. So there's a huge upswing value, and there's a lot of research that supports this, that planting native plants in your landscape will benefit everything else that it is that you desire in your home garden to achieve optimal yields. So in addition to California poppy seeds, we're also going to be planting the Seminole, and that's OL, Seminole pumpkin seeds, and these were donated to us by Blake's Natural Life, and he just published a YouTube lesson on the Ivory Organics YouTube a few weeks ago. But these are the Seminole pumpkin seeds, and then we've also got some sunflower seeds, and let's take a look at them here as well, so you can see. And again, best way to store them is in paper. The reason I do not recommend storing them in plastic is that if there's any moisture in the seeds, depending on how well you've dried them out in between, you don't want to create that moisture within that sealed plastic bag that will ultimately and quickly rot those seeds. So paper is my recommended best way for storing your seeds and just for a maximum health and longevity. I want to share with you also the seed chart so you can see how much you can do. And this is a seed chart I got from Digital Gardener's Southern California Vegetable Planting Schedule. And you can take a look just generally across the top, January, February, March, April, all the way through November and December. And the darker shaded areas that you see on the right and the left side kind of show you that January, February, March are excellent times for seeding. And then again in September, October, November, another excellent window for seeding and gaining the benefits of planting all of these things. Let's start with asparagus and beans and broccoli and cabbage and cauliflower and carrots celery, cucumbers, eggplants, and just on and on and on and on and on. So there's, again, a clear, just by looking at that chart, 2 clear windows for planting seeds. One is spring, which we all know about, but a lot of us forget about the value of fall. And I'm hoping that this opens and turns on the light in your head and also gets you involved with signing up with She's Rooted Home and making a friend and maybe incorporating some of your own seeds that you want to integrate in your garden, plus getting inspired by other gardeners into things that you should be considering planting in your grow zone. Like, I would have never thought about planting Seminole pumpkins, but we do enjoy eating squash, and Seminole pumpkins were those pumpkins that were planted by our Native Americans as a very heat tolerant, ideal for predominantly Florida, which is where these came, grow zone. And you can enjoy, you know, a nice, delicious, you know, integrating squash into whatever meals that you use, you know, for preparing squash. We're going to be experimenting with that here in our garden and planting them in just a few minutes. Before we get started with planting these seeds, let me first share with you how amazingly remarkable our front yard has transformed with our Southern California native wildflowers. Come and check these out. An area like that, and I've just seeded about a 3x3 area, 9 square feet. Still got a ton of seeds, and just to get them in the ground, we're simply going to scratch the surface about 1/4 of an inch. The winter that doesn't have a freeze, as we are here in Los Angeles and a lot of the southern climates throughout the South United States, can begin doing stuff like we're doing right now. And for those of you that live in warmer climates where there isn't a chance of frost, so here we are now with, again, a lot of the California wildflowers. These here are the California poppies. And you can see that they've all gone to seed. Over here you can see the green seed pods, which we're leaving alone. Eventually they turn brown, and then once they dry out enough, they crack open like so, and just check out all of those seeds in there. There's like 10 more. And this will be next year's plants. I got a couple here in my hand. Let me see if I can get some more. Here we are, another seed pod. Just bring that down. And we just got a few more out of that. Whatever got away will end up down into the soil and be next year's California poppies. And now let's talk about getting these things planted. Follow me. So assuming we've already refrigerated these for a few weeks, and again, I'm going to be adding about a few hundred seeds to the seed packet of my California poppies. But let's take the seeds out, and I just want to show you how we're going to now germinate them in this patch behind me. So again, here are the seeds. You can see there's a little bit of debris from the seed pod, but you can see the seeds. And again, the goal is to bury them 1/8 of an inch, which is insanely thin. But I'm going to be using this product in just a moment. I'm going to be demonstrating once we scatter it here on the soil. So this entire patch will now be California poppies. And to cover it, because if I were to go with this and cover it, this alone is closer to 1/4 inch. You want to make sure there's no bark, no, even the leaves are not, you know, necessarily going to be enough to offer the seed sufficient moisture in order to encourage germination. But what we're going to use, and one of my favorite products for those seeds that are so fine and need to be buried right near the surface, is going to be vermiculite. And vermiculite improves moisture and nutrient retention, prevents soil compaction, promotes faster seed germination, and used with potting mixes or garden soils. And when you take a look at it, it's also organic. You can see here it's OMRI listed for organic use. And when you take a look at it, it's simply made out of minerals such as stone that are at a very high heat puffed into this like popcorn type soil. It's just mineral. And you're simply going to sprinkle it, a nice thin layer like so, will create that 1/16 of an inch. And it is so soft and light that the seeds can easily germinate through it. So this is my favorite way of germinating fine seeds that need a very light cover. And once we water it, which I don't need to demonstrate, germination will begin. One other helpful tip for my fine seeds, and just in general with germinating new plants in your garden, and especially in an organic garden where you got a lot of slugs and a lot of biology, which is excellent for breaking down a lot of the organics and returning those minerals back to the plant. But for this particular grow zone where we've just planted, I'm going to be using a product such as this, and it's called Sluggo, and there's another one called Sluggo Plus, and it's also Armory organic certified. Sluggo Plus has the added benefit of spinosad, which is a bacteria that when bugs eat it gives them a stomach ache. You don't want to broadcast this over the entire garden, but I'm going to use it to create a barrier just around this planting zone to make sure that these little baby seedlings don't get consumed as they germinate. Once established, the pests are welcome and encouraged, and if there's a little bit of death and a little bit of leaf chew, no big deal once the plants are a little bigger. But at that tiny germination stage, a little bite could mean the life of the plant. And that's the reason we've added the product to this particular zone, to just guard it from any pests until germination occurs, and we won't be using pretty much any other products thereafter. Let's get on with the next planting tips. So in this gardening patch over here, I'm going to be planting the seminal pumpkin seeds. This plant will, just like most pumpkins, spread anywhere from at least 8 to 20 feet, and it'll find sun throughout this entire garden bed area. And what we're going to do is simply plant about 2 to 3 of these seeds. So here we go. And when it comes to pumpkins, you can plant them a little deeper. You can go as about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch. And what we're going to do is simply create a hole, like we just said, about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch deep. You can also take some compost. Over here I've got an amend, but if you've got compost, simply take a handful of that. We can mix this into the planting hole as well to help feed the plant and loosen the soil as it gets established in this grow zone. This will also help attract also more beneficial life, including earthworms and beneficial bacteria and mycorrhiza to network with these roots once they get established. Once we've got the planting hole ready, I like to scatter the seeds into its own area. So here's 1, 2, and 3, and now we can simply back cover it just with the native soil that's mixed with about 50% compost. And then we're going to take this product again, made by Sluggo, or you can use Sluggo Plus, which I ran out of, but that's my preferred, being that it has the added, it's Sluggo Plus spinosad, and it's about the same price. And we'll just scatter it over the surface. And this here is a seed planting demonstration. And now let me talk about transplanting. In case you got your seeds in containers, let's talk about the next steps now for getting it in ground. Follow me. So to my right here are some starter plants that I'm going to be integrating into our garden. As you can see behind me is the amaryllis that just a few weeks ago was blooming bright red, and today is beginning to die and go into seed form. But we're now going to be transforming this location into a vegetable patch. And here we are again this first week of June. And what we're going to be adding now is an eggplant. And the reason I've selected this is not just because I like eggplant, I don't love it, but I am planting it because of its beautiful coloration, the purple stems with the green leaves I figured would be a beautiful addition. And I'm only planting one. I feel like that's enough between me and my wife and my children. We can manage with the fruits of one plant in the garden on a week-to-week basis. I know that once it goes into production, we'll be picking an average of a few of these every single week over the course of 2 to 3 months. So this is going to produce, one plant is going to produce a lot of food for the family. And then I've also got one squash plant, as this too will be producing about 2 to 3 squash every single week over the course of about another 3 to 5 months. So a lot of squash off of one plant. And then basil. Being that we've been at home a lot these days, basil has been hugely important in the family. We've already got an established plant here in the garden. we wanted to add one more as we're using it in our pastas, we're using it in our pizzas, we're using it in our sauces, we're using it pretty much every day. And so we're adding now a second plant of basil to the garden, and we're going to be doing that together. I'm sharing a few helpful tips. And the first thing, and these same lessons apply to all of these plants, and I'm going to get started with the eggplant. I've selected a site over here, and we can do this together. The first thing I'm doing, and you can see that there's a layer of wood chips, as there is pretty much all over the garden. The benefit of wood chips is that it helps retain moisture, which helps save water. It's also helping in suppressing weeds from coming through the wood chips. But the first thing I'm going to do is simply pull the wood chips back. Another added benefit of the wood chips is it's breaking down, adding additional minerals that will benefit the surrounding plants. So once we get the wood chips out of the way, is you don't want the wood chips being integrated into the soil. If you've got wood chips in the soil, it starts absorbing nitrogen and minerals out of the soil, and it also may contribute towards rot and damaging the surrounding plant that you planted in. So you want to keep the wood chips at the top, just as it would in nature. Wood chips don't end up integrated underneath, and deep into the soil. So we're keeping the wood chips out of the way. And now we're going to prepare the hole. And here we go. Once the hole's been prepared, I'm going to take a handful of compost. I usually have homemade compost, but I'm using here one that's been prepared by Kellogg, and it's simply called Amend. And you can see what it looks like here. So it's just broken down, basically leaf mold and forest product that we're going to be integrating into the hole. I'm not putting too much. I'm only putting about a handful. The goal, as we discussed in a lot of tree planting methods over the last couple of years, being the new era planting method, is to not put too much compost into the planting hole, as that's going to break down and cause the plant to collapse into its hole, as all of this forest product is pretty much going to turn into dust in a matter of a few weeks as the soil biology eats it all up. So the goal when it comes to compost is to keep most of it near the top of the soil, so that with each watering it works its way into the root zone and the growing zone. But we're doing this just to kind of loosen the soil a little further and to enrich it kind of down in the root zone. But we're just doing just a little bit. We're not doing much when it comes to adding compost into the grow hole. And now we're simply going to up pot this eggplant, and I'm simply going to push down here on the bottom. And this plant is not terribly root bound. If you take a look real closely, one of the first things I do with my potted plants is I rip these bottom roots off, so that the roots that begin to now grow will grow in an outward fashion instead of continuing this root bound fashion. And this will help stimulate roots growing in the right direction, and we can kind of wake up all of these side roots and let it know to now grow into the soil. And we're going to be planting it at exactly the same depth as it was in the pot. We're not going any deeper or any higher. The same level as the pot, we're going to be backfilling with soil, and then we're simply going to add some pressure with our fingers, and not much, but just enough to remove some of the air pockets around the roots so that it doesn't dry out the roots. You want to make sure that the roots are in contact with soil, and the soil, once wet, is going to offer moisture to the plant. And now we're going to add that layer of wood chips back around the plant, like so. And the variety that we planted of eggplant is over here, called Millionaire, and we'll put that like so that we can recognize it when we come back to visit. So the next thing we're going to do is now feed the plant. And again, we're going to be using the Ivor Organics All-Purpose NPK, which has the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. You can see the percentages are quite high, 13, 14, 13. And it also includes all the macronutrients plants need, not just NPK, but also calcium, magnesium, sulfur. It also has added iron. And you can see the derived from ingredients are quite long, including feather meal, alfalfa meal, fishbone meal, kelp meal, cottonseed meal, potassium sulfate, glacial rock dust, which is kind of analogous to azomite, being crushed rocks, and a lot of the micronutrients and minerals that the plants need: neem cake, rock phosphate, oyster shell flour, crustacean meal, magnesium sulfate. So a lot of ingredients compared to the average organic fertilizer. And all I'm going to do here is take a tablespoon of the product, and I'm just going to scatter it around the root zone. and I'm just going to use with my fingers, get the fertilizer in contact with the soil, put the wood chips back up on top. And once we begin to water, the product begins to work. The last thing I'm going to do now to protect the plant is I'm now going to spray the plant with this Ivory Organics ready to use protection against damaging sunburn, insects, and rodents for use on your roses, fruit, nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs, for use in organic production and healthier than using paint and latex paint. Let me share a little bit more off of this flyer. And the predominant reason I'm using it today is here we are again the first week of June, and this here's a flyer on the Ivory Organic 3-in-1 Plant Garden. You can see that it works as an anti-transparent. We're basically using it as a sunscreen on the plant, reducing transplant shock, and also for sealing prune surfaces, curb weather extreme, whether it be summer sunburn or winter sun scald, and offering the plant total plant protection from leaves, stem, and trunk. It also offers as a rodent repellent protection, insect repellent protection, and so forth. So there's a lot that it's being offered with this product that we're simply going to now spray on the leaves. And if you take a look now, you can see that it pretty much has a sunscreen. You can see that white film that's on the leaves. It's barely noticeable, but offers the plant a lot of protection, not just in repelling the sun. If you take a look here on the ingredients again, you can see also with the inert ingredients, diatomaceous earth is included in addition to the castor, garlic, and cinnamon to help repel pests off the plants while keeping the plant cooler. So it gives this little baby plant excellent start at life, and the goal is that it doesn't get eaten up while it's small, and that if it just gets a little bit bigger, it can tolerate some pest damage. But at this point, we want to do everything we can to protect it and get it off to an excellent start. Well, let me finish off these last two plants. So all of the starter plants have been planted, and again, we fed them with the Ivory Organics all-purpose fertilizer, and every about 2 to 3 months for your in-ground plants, you're going to want to feed them to keep supporting additional growth, more flowers, and ultimately more vegetables, or for your basil, some more branches and leaves to enjoy. And then for your potted plants on the back, it explains that you should be feeding your plants during the growing seasons, being predominantly spring, summer, and fall. Take a break during the winter, that you're going to be feeding your plants once every month, as every time you go to water your potted plants, all of those minerals and nutrients that aren't being uptaken by the plants are being leached out of the container. That's why it's important for your potted plants that you give them a little bit more attention in regards to feeding them. And a good way to remember this is the first week of every single month, be sure to visit your potted plants and give them everything they need, especially food, during that growing season. And as we use the foliar spray to help protect and repel excess heat off the plants, in addition to protecting the plants from pests, you can see that even the basil we're spraying, but these younger leaves are not going to be consumed. They could be washed off, but this is just the beginning. We're going to be harvesting the upper part of the plant. If you come here around the corner, you can see a more established basil plant that we planted about 30 to 60 days ago, and we've been picking at this plant several times every week, and you can see that it's grown quite well. And with this basil plant, again, all of these leaves are unsprayed with any pest control, organic, and obviously not any synthetic products, but we don't spray this plant at all at this stage of life. And you can see that there's a couple of holes here and there, but not enough to justify spraying it. Here again, you can see that there's some damage here, some damage there, but 90% of this plant, 98% of this plant is perfect. Well, let's wrap up. So I'm looking forward to finding out who my SHES Rooted Home Seed Exchange partner is going to be. Again, that's going to earn this gift package in addition to the California poppies, in addition to the California lupine. In addition to, I'm just looking at some of the other seeds I may be able to gather here in the garden, include loquat seeds, maybe some seeds from a lemon tree. I also have some seeds from a fruit known as a rose apple, and it's not related to the apple tree, but it kind of has the shape of a small apple, but the flavor is rose petals. It's quite amazing. And those are just some of the ideas that I have for my seed exchange partner that I'm looking forward to hopefully getting to know and meet pretty soon. Remember, enrollment begins today on June 8th, 2020 and ends on June 15th. So you've got a very narrow window to sign up, and I'm signing up on June 8th, and I'm hoping and encouraging all of you to do the same. And let's just go over some of the rules and a little bit of background on what is SHES Rooted Home Seed Exchange all about. And let's read this together. SHES Rooted Home Seed Exchange was created to build a community of growers sharing their passion and knowledge with other aspiring gardeners in their growing zone. What is a seed exchange? It's an opportunity to send and receive seeds as well as other gardening products from other participants in your growing zone. Partners are matched based on their growing zones, and you'll receive 2 partners. One partner will be sending you your seed exchange packet, and you will be sending a second partner their seed exchange packet. So if I could demonstrate using these products, this particular person, person A, is going to be giving a seed package to person B. Person B is going to be giving their seed package to person C, and then person C is going to be giving it to person D, and this line continues. And She's Rooted Home is going to be trying her best to make sure that we're all within the same grow zone across the country and pairing us up. And if for whatever reason you don't like your seed exchange package, or you don't think it's fair, whatever it is that you received, you can write to She's Rooted Home, and she will try to find a way to resolve or correct the issue. But the goal is to build this gardening community and do your best to also give your best to whomever it is that you're partnered up with. Well, let's continue reading on. Who can participate? Anyone who enjoys gardening or someone who is looking to start their first garden is welcome to sign up. She's Rooted Home Exchange Fall 2020 is open to the United States residents only. What do we send in a seed exchange package? The package must include at least 5 different seed packets. They may come from your own garden, or they can be seeds you bought, and we ask that you'll work on a budget of $50. This can include other gardening supplies like gloves, tags, pots, aprons, fertilizers, and so on. This seed exchange schedule, fall of 2020, signups are open on June 8th, 2020. Signups close on June 15th. Partners are matched and emailed on June 22nd. The last day to ship packages is July 20th. The first day to report missing packages is on August 3rd, and the last day to report missing packages is on August 24th. To enter and benefit from this $50 gift package, you simply sign up. There's a small sign-up fee of only $10. So for $10, you get a gift package worth estimated value of $50. So it's kind of a no-brainer. And for any questions regarding the seed exchange and or terms and conditions, please visit. And now I'm giving you all of the links where you can get connected to She's Rooted Home Seed Exchange. And I'm including the website, the Instagram, the Facebook, the email. All of those links are down below. I'm going to put it right here on the screen. But most important of all, I want you to get started right now with signing up for the seed exchange. So the first link I'm putting is the sign up form. So you don't have to go through all of those links. I want you to go and click on the sign up form, which is on your screen right now. And it is the top link in the description below this video. It's the top link you'll find in the pinned comments down below. Click on that link. Sign up. It's only $10 to join. You're not going to make one, but you're going to be making 2 friends. You're going to be preparing a seed gift package worth $50 and giving it to someone, and you're going to hopefully end up being gardening friends with. You're also going to be receiving a gift packet from someone else. So that's 2 friends you're going to be making, and this is going to be happening twice a year, every spring and every fall, and this is the fall 2020 seed gift exchange. It's the first time I'm involved, and I'm encouraging all of you to join me as well in helping grow this gardening network across the country for She's Rooted Home. And again, all of those links are down below in the description below this video, in addition to the pinned comments you can find in the comments as well. And I hope to see you all there. The upcoming gardening lesson brought to you by Ivory Organics is going to cover a lot of helpful tips in preparing for the summer growing season and making sure you cover all the bases. And that's the reason I'm talking about 10 helpful gardening tips. And be sure to look out for that. And the way you're going to stay connected is by, for one, be sure to like this video if you've hopefully learned something new from it. But secondly, and most importantly, be sure to subscribe and hit the push bell notification to stay informed of all of these gardening lessons as soon as they become made available. As always, keep growing with Ivory Organics, and wishing you all happy gardening.